joining me on this Life Lesson Friday episode of the Confidence Through Health podcast. Today's topic comes from a conversation I actually had this morning with one of the athletes that I coach. And she had completed her workout, and the workout was geared towards not just pushing her physically, but pushing her mentally. And so we talked through that as the workout was going on. And at the end of the workout, she said, "Okay, how do I continue to build on this when I'm training on my own, when I'm not with you, when it's just like how do I get over this hump? How do I know that I'm pushing myself mentally to be prepared for the situation comes up in a race and I hit that mental spot where typically I tend to fall apart or I tend to break down. I tend to not push through. And it's something that yes, it's something that athletes deal with, but it's also something that's very true about overall life because life is going to hit us with different things. There's always something coming around the corner that's going to disrupt the flow of your life. And it can be relationships, it can be work, it can be financial. It can be health for sure. There's always something that disrupts the natural flow. And what's interesting is that when that thing happens, we tend to find the time to be able to take care of whatever it was that needed to be taken care of, needed to be handled. When probably before that, we would have said, we don't have time to deal with this. There's so much other stuff going on in our life. And then when that extreme moment happens, everything else you just put it on pause. And there's so many areas in our lives where this happens and can happen and does happen. And we think that there's not enough time because we fill our space with either busyness or things that just take up time that aren't as important overall to our overall life. But they're fun, they're enjoyable, they're relaxing. There's a time and place for those things. But when they distract you from what you want to achieve, then they're getting in the way. And that's one of the things that I told her is that the mental side is you have to push yourself beyond where that mental break happens. You're physically capable of doing this activity for this long. So when that mental, you've got to push yourself to a point where it's like, okay, I'm committing before I start, I'm going to go run X amount of time. And I know that if I run X amount of time at my normal pace, I'm going to go beyond that mental block that pops up because it usually pops up before that overall amount of time that happens. So let's say that normally that mental block pops up at 25 minutes into a run. Go run for 35 minutes. You know that you're going to hit that mental block. And all you have to focus on is I'm just going to run for 35 minutes. Doesn't matter how far you go, how fast you go. It's the timing piece of understanding that I accomplished something beyond that mental block. And then we start to build on that. Once you do it once, you're able to do it twice. You're able to continue to say, okay, I did it before. I can do it again. And that's a big piece of dealing with those mental obstacles that come up in our daily life is being able to lean back on the successes we've had before that may or may not be in that same area or range of life, right? Like if you've had success as an athlete and then you've got financial problems, you can still relate the two together. Or if you've had success in work, but you're struggling in relationships, you can still relate the two together and understand how to overcome the obstacles. If you take the time, step back, look at it, observe what's going on, potentially get somebody else's help from the outside to look in and say, hey, you may be not giving yourself enough credit for your ability to be able to overcome that because all you see is the obstacle. You don't see the path on the other side of it. You just see the obstacle and you're making the obstacle too big. So getting past that mental block, getting past that obstacle, oftentimes is simply about putting a strategy together to conquer it in a small step, not necessarily saying I have to wait until it's the performance piece to conquer it. I have to wait until it's the championship race or the interview that I really want or whatever it is that is out there that's like do it in something small before then. Improve to yourself and start building on small steps that are positive changes. So that's the life lesson Friday for today is acknowledging and seeing that mental block and then finding a way to get past it in practice so that when it becomes the important time to get past it, you can lean back on your successes in the practice that you've been able to do to be able to do it when it is